Okay, good evening, good morning, everybody from all over the world. Today we are going to talk about the blockchain technology and the crypto finance. So, welcome to the online conference. Uh, let's say these are my personal information. I am a blockchain developer and a smart contract developer, and you can actually reach me through the WhatsApp number of my profile link in case of any question about the conference I'm going to give it out. So this is just a brief overview of what we are going to see in that session. First of all, we are going to see what is actually the Web 3. And to understand the Web 3, you have to understand the web evolution. So it's very important to know that. And we are going to talk about what is the blockchain and how it works. We are going to mention the industry where the blockchain can be applied, the key characteristic of the blockchain technology, and we are going to highlight the difference between a token and a native cryptocurrency because it is, there's a big or a huge difference between a token and a native cryptocurrency. We are going to see in this presentation. So, why and how to invest in cryptocurrency and how to identify a good project. So, we are also going to go through that point for you to be able to know how to invest your money and how to invest yourself in a cryptocurrency project or a blockchain project. So, we are also going to talk about what is the decentralized finance. It's actually a financial system or a common financial system that we have today, but on the blockchain technology, and how does it impact our life in our day-to-day life. So we also going to talk about the different application of the DeFi ecosystem that we can have. So you can have lending, borrowing, and decentralized exchanges. So at the end of the session, I'm going to give you a brief overview of a career opportunity in the blockchain and crypto finance for you to be able to get into that industry and make something good for the people or for the world. So let's get started with understanding the web evolution. In this picture, we have the web 1.0, the web 2.0, and the web 3.0. So the web 1.0 is the one that, we have actually a centralized server and all, the computers are actually connected to that server. And one of the major application of the web 1.0 is actually a static website because in the early 1990s we only have some static website you can actually get information but you couldn't actually interact with somebody or some people else around the world. And now we have the web 2.0 that is actually been confirmed since the year of 2005 with the rising of social media. So one of the biggest, let's say, the major use case of the Web 2.0 is actually social media. We have social media, we have messages, instant messages. You can actually share information, share, you can actually share your video, share your records, you can actually share a picture. So that's we call the Web 2.0. Yeah, all these servers are connected in together. So now we are moving to the Web 3.0. That's actually a decentralized web where everybody is actually connected to everybody so that once an information has been sent on the network, anyone can actually trace that information. And that is actually the beauty and the power of this Web3 technology. And one of the major, let's say, the major application of the Web3 technology is actually the blockchain technology. So we are going to see how the blockchain works and how the blockchain has been implemented. So let's get started. What is actually the blockchain technology? From that picture, you can see that everybody is actually connected to anyone. So that if I send an information to someone, the other person connected to the network can actually, visualize the transaction. But the transaction message cannot be seen and the transaction message cannot be actually changed. And this is actually makes what makes the beauty and the power of this technology. The information that has been sent on the network cannot be changed. and that information, cannot be modified from a hacker, and this information is actually decentralized. So at the same time, everybody had the same copy of that message, and that's what makes actually the beauty of this technology. So we are going to dive into the application of the blockchain. So we are going to start with the banking industry. So the banking industry is actually one of the major application of the blockchain technology with decentralized finance, of course. And in decentralized finance, we have the same, let's say, the same services that has been offered from the financial, the normal financial or normal institutional financial services, but it's implemented, let's say, in a slightly different way, because in the blockchain technology you can have lending and borrowing, you can have swapping or exchanges. You can actually exchange money, a token to another token in a decentralized exchange platform, and let's say the transaction fee are relatively low, and the transaction is fast. You don't have to have any approval to send an information or to send the money from one person to another person. So we are going to get into that in the next slide. We are going to explain to it how the blockchain work, how the DeFi works, and how the different application in the banking system works. So let's say the education industry is actually one of the best industry where the blockchain can be applied, because you can actually apply this technology to verify some certificates, to verify the authenticity of the certificate from a university or just an institution. Because people around the world have been providing some fake certificate, and that's not actually good. It's not actually good. So you can implement a system to be able to trace the certificate, or to be able to make sure that that certificate is actually coming from that university. And that's actually good. So we have also politics. So the blockchain can be applied to politics, because we can implement a voting system where anyone can vote on the blockchain, and that vote cannot be changed on the, let's say, the blockchain technology. So this kind of application of the blockchain technology in politics can be applied all around the world, but especially here in Africa, because we know how things really, sometimes get bad when it comes to politics and voting. So what of the major application of the blockchain technology, but I've not listed it here, is actually the supply chain. So the supply chain industry is actually benefiting from the blockchain technology, because in the supply chain system implemented with the blockchain technology, we can actually trace a product from one source to another source in such a way that we make sure that the product that has been moving from the, let's say, from the manufacturer to the end user is actually authentic, and we can actually implement a system at the end of the chain to make sure that the end consumer can actually snap, let's say, a barcode to be able to see all information about the product, and let's say where the product is actually coming from. So we are going to move on, but we have other industry where the blockchain can be applied to. We have real estate industry, and we have also healthcare industry. So what are the benefits of the blockchain technology? So we have immutable data. All information stored in a blockchain is permanent and unable to be changed. So this is actually what makes the blockchain technology powerful, because it uses sometimes smart contract to do that. So we have lower transaction fees. Let's say in the blockchain you can actually send over $1 million for a transaction fee less than $10, or less than less even $5. So it's actually powerful. That's something that you cannot do with our current system, our current financial system today, because we have some intermediaries, and this is why the blockchain technology is booming right now. And let's say we have some security, because public blockchains are distributed across hundreds of thousands of computers. it would be impossible to attack every simultaneously. So I was explaining in the previous slide that the information that has been sent on the blockchain network is decentralized so that everybody, has the same copy of that. So if you want to change an information, you have to change it in all other nodes. And we have some, let's say we have some million of computers interconnected around the world, and it's not actually easy to be able to change that information in all computers at the same time. So this is actually some benefits of the blockchain technology. We have anonymity and privacy because when you send an information, it's true that we can actually, let's say, we can actually see the transaction, but we do not know actually who is the person behind, but we have the address, and that address has been validated, or that transaction has been validated on the network by validators. So that's actually the benefits of the blockchain technology. We have others, but I've just take some few because it's important to be brief in that session. So, what is the difference between a coin and a token? So, what is a coin and what is a token? Let's say from the picture that we have, a coin is actually a digital currency similar to a physical currency. So, a token is actually a digital asset issued on a particular project. So, blockchain networks sometimes the most of the blockchain network have, let's say their own native cryptocurrency. So they are governed by their own cryptocurrency. So that's what we call the native cryptocurrency. But sometimes there are some blockchain that allows you or allow us to implement and to create other cryptocurrency, and that's what we call token. So a token is actually a cryptocurrency that has been designed from another blockchain that allows people to create application. And one of the application that can be created is you know a token or a cryptocurrency. So it is actually powerful. That's why the blockchain technology is actually booming around the world right now, because everybody can just create its own money. That's something that we could not actually see in the last years before with the current financial system that we have. It is actually centralized and all what we know. So we are going to see right now how to invest in a cryptocurrency project. So what to search when you want to invest in a cryptocurrency project? First of all, you have to look or to check up the team members. Who are the person behind the scene? What are their role? What are the backgrounds? You have to check them on LinkedIn, let's say on social media and all of our social media. You have to make sure that they are legit. So it's important because we have a bout of scammer around the world right now. Since it is a new technology, everybody is trying to, let's say, to get something about. So you have to understand also the mission. What do they want to communicate? Why the project is existing? Why are they launching the project? So you have to look for it to know exactly what's the mission of the project. So it's very important. You also have to get into the popularity and the news. So you constantly have to check the newspaper to know that if they are talking about a project, or if let's say they are making some publicity or popularity about the project. So you also have to, let's say, to get the price history of that token. It's important, and to do that you have to refer to some, let's say, centralized exchange or just exchanges to make sure that they are legit. So this is actually what we have to look for or to get when you want to, let's say, invest in a cryptocurrency project. So watch out because there are a lot of scammers around here and around the world for that specific technology. So I'm going to explain to you in this slide the CFI, the DeFi. So CFI stands for centralized finance, and DeFi stands for decentralized finance, as you know. And from that picture, you can see that in the CFI we have middle entity or million institution. In CFA, we have banks, we have regulators, and we also have, let's say, bankers. So to send a money from Sarah to Robert, you have to pay some transaction fee or transaction fee. And these transaction fee are going to be high because we have so many intermediaries, between Sarah and Robert. So in the blockchain technology, we don't have any intermediaries. Sarah can just send money to Robert via a blockchain directly, and nobody owns the blockchain technology. Nobody is let's say nobody is a person that can modify an information in the blockchain technology. So that's what makes the beauty. And the transaction fee for the decentralized finance is relatively low, and you can send, let's say, million of cryptocurrency or million of dollar in terms of cryptocurrency in for less than $10. That's actually the beauty and the power of that decentralized finance. That's why everybody is going to get into that technology in the next few years. So, what are the application of the blockchain technology? We have borrowing and lending. We also have this kind of application in the let's say centralized finance. But in the blockchain, as I was saying, transaction fees are low, and the interest sometimes in these kind of, let's say, borrowing and lending platforms is high. So the interest is high because we have less intermediaries to pay some transaction fee. And that's what makes actually the beauty. So this kind of application sometimes work with liquidity pool. We have borrower from one side, we have lenders for the other side. So borrower are here to borrow the money, and lenders are here to put the money in a large reservoir for the borrower to be able to take it and to pay back with some interest. And then when they pay so that those interest, the lenders can actually benefit from that interest and continue the system over and over. So we're also going to talk about decentralized exchanges. So how can you exchange a token to another token? Let's say you have a token A and you don't want to use the token A because you want to do something else with that token A. You want to swap it to a token B, you have to go to a decentralized exchange. So it is a way to swap, money or just cryptocurrency, to be able to do it, in a safe way. And decentralized exchanges work with what we call liquidity pool. So people are putting money, and in those liquidity pool, it's like a large reservoir of money that you lock in the blockchain, and then you allow people to be able to swap and, let's say, to take or to interact with the money. So at the end of the day, you can have, let's say, a percentage value for that because you have been locked for your cryptocurrency or your money for a while, and people are using it. So that's actually the beauty of the decentralized exchange. Decentralized exchange, you can actually swap directly, and the transaction fee are very low. So transaction fee is something that is very important and critical, because in centralized exchanges you cannot have this kind of transaction fee. Sometimes you can swap in a decentralized exchange for less than, let's say, less than $10, and this is actually awesome because you can swap a good amount of money, and you cannot actually see it in this, let's say, in this centralized system. So one of the major applications, but people don't really actually know much about the flash loan. So flash loan is actually a way to borrow a million of cryptocurrency, a good number of cryptocurrency, with zero money down. So you can actually borrow money, use it, and repay it in one transaction. So the flash loan is actually insane. You can actually borrow a million of cryptocurrency in terms of dollars. You use it and you repay it in one transaction. So it's actually awesome. So the benefits of flash loan are you have no approval, you can't lose the money since the transaction is made in one transaction, and you pay near zero fees. Near zero fees because uh, you have to pay some gas fee or some transaction fee when you want to implement the flash loan. So where the flash loan can be actually let's say, can be actually implemented. We have arbitrage. Arbitrage is actually buying from one exchange and selling to the other exchange, and we can actually borrow, this kind of money, and to trade that money. That's what we call arbitrage. You trade it on decentralized exchanges to get some value about that. You can actually use flash loan in yield farming. Yield farming is when you put your money, let's say, in a decentralized bank, and you earn some competitive interest about that. So you can actually do that. So you can actually also, let's say, implement the flash loan in liquidation. So the flash loan is actually booming out. So it's very powerful. So this thing you cannot actually see in the, let's say, in our traditional financial system. That's why people are moving to the blockchain technology. So thank you very much for your listening. And if you have any comment and question, you are welcome to reach me out. I've given my information to you in the first live. You can actually write me through WhatsApp, or you can actually send me a message through LinkedIn. So, as I was saying in the beginning, my name is Makonge Tobojil. I am a blockchain developer and a smart contract engineer.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's conference. Today's my title of presentation is Distinguishing the Cryptocurrency from Blockchain Technology for Decentralized Innovation. My name is Ibrahim Inusa, a blockchain developer and affiliated to Marwadi University here in Rajkot, Gujarat, India. I will walk you through the topic, and now let's begin. Now, a cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. These two terms, they are used interchangeably, but a blockchain technology, being one of the emerging technology of 21st century, has impacted the advancement of the mankind. And since the inception of this technology, people have used the term interchangeably with its application, which is a cryptocurrency. The such distinguishing it from its application became unconventional among the people. But today we will distinguish between two, specifically for the decentralized innovations. Now, let's begin by looking at the brief idea of blockchain technology. We knew, or we acknowledged, that Satoshi Nakamoto's development of the Bitcoin in 2009 has often been hailed as a radical development in the money and a currency, being the first example of a digital asset which simultaneously have no backing or intrinsic value and no centralized issuer controller. It seems amazing that the most important part of this Bitcoin experiment, it is the underlying technology behind it, which is called a blockchain technology, and not only as in a technology used for developing the cryptocurrency, but also as a tool of distributed consensus for other application-based cryptocurrency, or Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies are just an application of the blockchain technology. And if we look at the word blockchain technology itself, in the technical definition, it is a decentralized distributed ledger that is used to record a transaction across many computers so that any involved record cannot be altered. So this technical definition can be simply explained in a plain English, when you can able to say it is in a structure that stores transactional record or digital data by wrapping this digital data in the form of block and store it in a several database. And this database, typically it is called or referred to as a digital ledger. And if you look at the cryptocurrency in other side, it is just like our traditional or normal currency, but in a traditional platform and decentralized. When we look at this word decentralized, it means it is not issued or backed by any central authority, such as a central bank or any government. Instead, the cryptocurrency runs across the network of computers. The cryptocurrency, it is built on top of the blockchain technology, and it is the first application of the blockchain technology. When you look at it in the other side, you will find out it is an electronic payment system based on the cryptography proof instead of trust, like a bank, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without need for a trusted third party. That is the idea of the cryptocurrency. But as we say that the distinguishing between the two, it become unconventional among the people. Today's walking you through the major distinction between the two is a pleasure, and we look at it here. The first one that I like to discuss about the major difference is when we look at the blockchain technology as a platform for storing or developing decentralized applications. Well, for the cryptocurrency, it is an electronic payment system based on the cryptographic proof instead of a trust like a bank, and it was on the blockchain technology, which is being emerged from the blockchain technology. Whereas for the blockchain technology in other side also has a diverse application across other domain, include the Internet of Things. Internet of Things can be all those things that we are connecting it to the central applications or decentralized application. An artificial intelligence ecosystem also related to the neural networking, related to the deep learning, all part of the artificial intelligence ecosystem. Well, in other side, it is also one of the application of blockchain out of the many, that is the cryptocurrency. It is one of the application of the blockchain technology out of the tons of the applications of the blockchain technology. If we look at other major difference is that the blockchain technology, it is a development tool. As for the cryptocurrency, it is an application. And when you look at the common example of the blockchain technology, there is a blockchain technology platforms that you use those platforms in order to develop any decentralized applications, such like the Bitcoins. So the one of the example of those platform is Ethereum platform, or the Hyperledger Fabric platform, or IBM blockchain platform. Those are the examples of the blockchain technology platform. And for the cryptocurrency, the other example for it, because it is just an application, you can say it's the Litecoin or the Zcash or the Bitcoin. They are also the examples of the cryptocurrency. And the other major difference is the blockchain platform are implementations of the blockchain abstraction. So you consider all those, the Ethereum and the Hyperledger, they are the implementation of the whole idea of the blockchain abstraction. Well, as for the cryptocurrency, it is just created on the blockchain technologies platform. So example, you can create it your own coin inside Ethereum platform, for example. So being those are the major difference between the two, now let's look at the decentralized innovation space so we can see how they correlate to each other, or why we should move to the decentralization, since all those technology rely on the decentralization. A three common argument was being raised in order to show the reason for moving to the decentralization. And the first one is a fault tolerant. The fault tolerance is one of the aspects that it is raising the issue of moving towards the decentralization. So in the decentralization system, it is less likely to fail accidentally because they rely on separated components or separate components that are not likely to fail. That's why we move to the decentralization, because of the fault tolerant. And other thing is that for the attack resistance. In the decentralized system are more expensive to attack and destroy or manipulate because of the lack of the sensitivity of the central point that can be attacked, or much lower cost than the customized size of the surrounding. That's why also we think of shifting towards the decentralization. And the collision resistance is also a major part of what raised an argument of shifting towards the decentralization's space. And when we look at now at the cryptocurrency space, it is a widely as we think of. So nearly today, one of the news organization called the statistic.com, they says that today is nearly over 60,000 or 6,000 cryptocurrencies are existing in 2001, and this is according to their record. And if we look at this type of the currency, those are the ones that were being adopted by the people, and there are tons of other ones that are not adopted by the people. And if we look at the cryptocurrencies in the general, they are even more than the currencies that we have nowadays, our traditional currencies. Compare it to the number of the countries we have in the globe. If you take each country having its own specific the currency, the cryptocurrency are more than the currency of today, our traditional currency. But there is a common questions need to be tackled as regards to the cryptocurrencies, like such where they come from, who created them, and what they are created for. And it's simple to answer. When you look at the question where those cryptocurrencies coming from and who created them and for what reason, the answer is that the cryptocurrencies are created by individuals, companies, for eliminating the fraud risks and the transaction anonymity. Now, the other low operation cost is also one of the reasons for creating the crypto, and immediate transaction also is a part of the cost, that is a part of the factor that will lead to create a cryptocurrency. Access to the new customer base, security for funds in their own digital platform. Those are the reasons for the companies, individual creating the crypto. And in anyone can able to create his own or her own cryptocurrency, just only he require a technical knowledge, or he just simply require a blockchain developer. For that, he can able to create his own cryptocurrency. These cryptocurrency are built on top of the blockchain technologies platform, such as the Ethereum, Hyperledger Fabric, iOS, or Ethereum, and other tons of the other platforms can be used to create these cryptocurrencies. But if you look at the question, why the people buy the cryptocurrency or engage in investing in the cryptocurrency, the simple answer to that first is for transaction purpose, because of the lower cost of the transaction and immediate of the transaction. And the second, it is for storing the crypto in order to gain a profit at the later, because people now realize that the crypto is growing. The potential of the currency, it is out there, known to everyone. So for that, they bought these currencies and then they store it, and for the future use they sell it at more price that is more worthy to them. And if you look at other part, people engage in buying the cryptocurrency for crypto trading, and it's also known to them. And the last one for the investment. But to conclude the whole of this today's the topic of the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain technology distinguishing, we will trace back to the origin of the blockchain technology. So the blockchain technology can be traced back to 1991, where cryptographical secure chain of the blockchain is described by the first time by the Steuben Haber, one of the scientists. He just described the first idea of the blockchain technology in its initial basis. And in 1998 can be traced back to computer scientist known as Nick Szabo, who works on the BitGold, a decentralized digital currency. Well, in 2000 we found that the Stephen Kohns published his own theory of the cryptographic secure chain plus the idea of the implementation. This is also tracing back to the origins of the blockchain technology. In 2008 can be traced back to the developers, a group of developers working under a pseudonym known as Satoshi Nakamoto. As Satoshi Nakamoto, those group of the developers released in a white paper establishing the model for the blockchain technology. As soon this paper starts circulating, the Nick Szabo implemented the first blockchain as a public ledger for transaction made using the Bitcoin. So since that time it has been now together the Bitcoin, it becomes the first application of the blockchain technology, and it is not separated out to the people. And in 2014 the blockchain technology become separated from the cryptocurrency, and it's on and become the potential for other financials. So these are the ideas that can be traced back to the origin of the blockchain technology and where the cryptocurrency first developed to. And this is showing us that the blockchain technology is not only being there for the cryptocurrency but for other applications, and the application can be in the diverse places across many domains. and those domains can be either AI or can be either the Internet of Things. And more especially, the blockchain technology can be suitable for the application related to decentralization application are more suitable to implement in blockchain technology. Thank you for being with me in today's conference, sharing you with the idea of the blockchain technology. Thank you for participating in today's conference. Here are my contact for those who are looking for any information or article related to the blockchain technology in my site. Thank you very much for being with us.
Hello, my name is Tanja Bivic-Plankar. I'm very happy to be a part of the European Digital Week 2021. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a speaker and to talk about, as I believe, an important topic, what needs to happen for mass adoption of the blockchain technology. First, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and about the Blockchain Alliance Europe, the organization that I represent. We were founded in March 2018. There were founder members that are companies that develop or implement blockchain technology. And the main idea was mutual help between companies in the field of business development, networking, and cooperation. Because at that time, as you know, there was a hype about the blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, but still there was a lot of persuading that needed to happen about the blockchain technology implementation. And yes, of course, our main goal is still raising awareness about blockchain technology for professional and general public. And that's why we educate a lot, and that's why we are very grateful for this possibility for this presentation on the European Digital Week 2021. We are also trying to reach the broad use of blockchain technology, and of course we are cooperating with national authorities and the European authorities in the fields of relevant legislation. This is a little bit about our members, our partners. We are constantly growing, so there are a few more names, few more projects that need to be added here on this list, but the idea is to be as connected in the European space so that we can also exchange ideas, exchange our knowledge, and reach that final goal, the adoption of blockchain technology. This is what we want to achieve, the ecosystem supporting blockchain technology. So we want all the important stakeholders to be aware about blockchain technology and also to be active in the implementation. Now I will start with the topic. First, I would like to introduce you a concept that was formed by Geoffrey A. Moore, and it is about the crossing the chasm. He's a wonderful Australian author that is in this book. He is explaining how every new technology is actually adopted and through which phases it goes. And this is not something that is happening or that is very specific for blockchain technology. This is something that can be applied to every new idea that is presented to public. So let's talk a little bit about Geoffrey Moore's chasm. What is actually the chasm? First, he says that every new idea, every new technology is, of course, adopted by the technology enthusiasts and visionaries. And then after that, first, let's say, hype, there comes the chasm. This new idea faces marginalization, ridicule, criticism, acceptance in the final stage, and then it becomes the part of the mainstream market. Of course, it is first adopted by the pragmatists, then about the conservatives, and last, of course, the skeptics. And as we'll see, This chasm actually happened before, as I mentioned, with the ideas. You probably know about Charles Darwin, his theory. He waited for 35 years so that it was actually acknowledged, his theory, biological theory. Then there was Ignaz Semmelweis. He was obstetrician, and he said that washing hands before birth, before performing the birth for the doctors, is essential and really lowers the death rate of the women and also the newborns. And he was heavily ridiculed during his life about this theory, so ridiculed that he actually committed suicide and had really, really sad story and sad life. And something really similar also happened to Gregor Mendel, then to Galileo, Tesla, Copernicus, Kepler and Avogadro. They all faced this chasm when they were ridiculed, heavily ridiculed, and had to actually defend their theories. And not long ago, electricity arrived in our world. You can see that in the 17th century, there was the word electric, and electricity was first used, and the scientists struggled for a very long time to find a practical use of it. And then in the 19th century, Edison produced the long-lasting electric bulb, and that was the first use case for electricity. But that was not the only one, of course. And then the interesting is that electric lighting was shortly after that installed in the White House, and that the president at that time and his first lady didn't want to touch any socket, any switches and so on, because they were very afraid that they would be electrocuted. The other problems was also, there was a lot of death because of the electricity. The safety was not as we know it today. And actually there were also a lot of death cases in schools. And then they figured out that they have to do something about the safety of the electricity and the electric installations. And then after that, long talks about the regulation issues, political pressure, and happened. And you can know also perhaps about the wars of the currents and so on. But today, our world is unimaginable without electricity. And this industry is one of the most important industries in the world. It changes and it also grows and is also adopting blockchain technology pretty quickly. So let's talk a little bit about the blockchain technology life cycle. The idea of encryption was presented by Stuart Hebner and Scott Stornetta in 1990 in the document How to Timestamp a Digital Document. This was somehow the basics. And also Satoshi Nakamoto that published the white paper, Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, heavily talked about that first document of the Stuart, Scott, and Stornetta. And yes, in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto published white paper, and this was the base for the first Bitcoin Genesis block that happened in 2009. And there was not a use case for a long time, for 1 year. The first use case of blockchain technology is today globally marked as Bitcoin Pizza Day. As you know, Laszlo Haniec bought 2 pizzas that he actually published that on the Bitcoin Talk forum, that he wants 2 pizzas and he's willing to pay in BTC. And that actually one pizzeria said, yes, okay, we're gonna do that. And they made a transaction, and that was the first use case. Another important milestone happened on the 30th of July of 2015, when the Ethereum network was established. Actually, it was very important because it introduced smart contracts, and it became later in 2016 and 17 some sort of crypto Kickstarter for startups. Why is this important? You know, how we are still raising and were raising funds before the ICOs. There is a possibility to go to the bank. Maybe family and friends are ready to invest. You can go to venture capitalists, to angel investors, or to some other crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter that are not really suitable for some blockchain technology products. But then when Ethereum platform introduced smart contracts and possibility to raise funds through ICOs, this actually happened. A lot of funds were raised through ICOs. And on one side, there was a push for the blockchain technology, technology ideas and projects and so on. But the other problem was that a lot of those projects were fishing for funds only on the basis of the white paper. There was no MVP, there was actually nothing. And if they went to production and when they went to production, the actual product was pretty poor. And a lot of those projects actually failed because of various reasons, why startups fail. And the other thing was that a lot of scams happened in that time globally. There were a lot of opportunists, there were a lot of people with criminal backgrounds that actually found out that there is a possibility to secure some money and then ran with it. These are some of the obvious scam or fraud highlights that should point us to a certain project is a scam or a fraud. What happened after that is that there was a need for ICO regulation. The regulator said, okay, this is something that is happening is not okay, because yes, we have a very creative and innovative environment, but we also have a lot of scams and fraud. And also there were a lot of ambition goals and poor performance that is actually some kind of a gray area between the, a proper business and scam or fraud. And what regulation then brings is some regulative certainty, healthier business environment, but there is always worry about overregulation, because blockchain technology is still something new, is still something that is not broadly used, that is not massively used. And we don't know what consequences certain projects have. We don't know how this will, how we cannot project what actually will happen in 2, 3, 5 years from now. And regulating something from the top down that is decentralized and is a new concept in regulation could lead to over-regulation. So yes, the solution is smart regulation. It is sometimes used as a buzzword, but it has a really simple definition. Smart regulation is actually a regulation that does not interfere with the technology itself, that it regulates the consequences, but it still leaves the blockchain technology to grow, expand, and it leaves the way to innovation. Okay, then after ICO, a lot of talk was, the focus was also on IOs, STOs. Today, they are also called with some other names, but they were talk about security tokens, the possibility of use of utility tokens still for financing the projects. And now we are somewhere, let's say, it is still possible to do some sort of a financing, but yes, it is mostly more regulated. There are also some countries that are offering the ICO regulation, so you can do it in a certain framework and so on. While Bitcoin is probably still in the chasm, not is certainly, this is not very correct anymore, because we can see some of the criticism of the, I don't know, Nobel Prize winner Joseph Stiglitz, and then Nouriel Roubini is one of the very big, he's criticizing Bitcoin heavily, also Peter Schiff and so on. But now that we are in the phase of growth of cryptocurrencies, we can read about the Bitcoin, how it is gaining on the value, and the articles are pretty positive right now. We don't know what will happen then, when there will be a correction in the market that almost always certainly comes. So let's say that probably is in the chasm, and it is not so heavily ridiculed anymore. But I don't know if we are really in the path of the adoption. The next correction of the market will show where we are actually. Okay, we talked a lot about Bitcoin and about the financial aspect of the blockchain technology, but we must always remember and understand that blockchain is not just Bitcoin, that it is not just the financial part of the, you can see that here. It has use in almost all the industry verticals. You see here some of those, you know, described, but it has almost everywhere. It has a certain use. Of course, when you need the centralized system that cuts out a middleman, when you need a simplification, when you need something automated, when you need actually extended security, like here in the possibilities of identity and so on. So financial aspect is, yes, probably the most interesting, and most people know about it because, yes, so the possibility of gaining some wealth, but it's not the only one. And blockchain technology has other uses. So there are companies that are thinking about implementing blockchain technology solutions. And there are challenges and there are opportunities. Here with challenges, these are the questions that they usually they are questioning themselves. How will they increase the return on investment? Will this be compatible with legacy systems? And how this will affect the established workflows? But the opportunities are that you are a torchbearer of the innovation, but not just that. The system becomes transparent, decentralized, and secure. And yes, the workflows will probably simplify. And there is, I mean, it is worth to invest the time, money, and effort. But let's not see blockchain technology as a magic wand and that it could be implemented everywhere. But when it is implemented, when sensible, and when it is implemented correctly, then it has a major impact on the certain project. The good thing is also that blockchain technology has a focus also on the European Union level. In 2018, also the European Blockchain Partnership was established, and it has 21 member states joined the European Blockchain Partnership. And the Blockchain Partnership is actually developing or establishing the European blockchain services infrastructure. And this is a network, of course, but there are also several use cases that they are pursuing and developing on the top of the European blockchain services infrastructure. Then we also have European SSI framework work group. We have INATBA, that is International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, and EU Blockchain Observatory and Forum. It has an impact, of course. It is important to have this on the European Union level, because this is also one push toward the mass adoption of blockchain technology in the various sectors. Let's maybe talk about the most important blockchain technology use cases or technologies, because there are two technologies and one use case actually. One is the self-sovereign identity, or SSI. This is one of the building blocks of blockchain technology systems projects, and it is very important. It is also recognized by the, as I mentioned before, by the European Union as one of the important use cases. Blockchain, if you have a self-sovereign identity that is based on blockchain technology, it is much, much safer. And what it gives the owner, it gives the person ownership about your own data. If you think, where do you leave data today? When you go to every, I don't know, online shop, you insert your personal data there. You insert very, let's say, sensitive personal data, like, you know, you're inserting their credit cards, you're inserting your date of birth, a lot of your tax number, your personal numbers, your social security numbers, even sometimes. Do you ever think what happens with all that data? How it is stored? Is it secure? You have so many cases of data breaches daily, and they are rising exponentially. So we have to do something with that data. We have to make it as secure as possible, and self-sovereign identity that is based on blockchain gives you an opportunity just to share the important data with a certain entity, with certain business or website or so on. They don't store it anymore. You store it in your own personal wallet. And this is something that is important. In case of course, of more democratic use of personal data, and also about the security. And on top of this is one of the important building blocks for the various blockchain technology systems. The other thing are smart contracts. I was talking about the Ethereum that first introduced smart contracts. Of course, there are a lot of different chains that have smart contracts today. We will not discuss that, which one is the best, because everyone chooses by their own preferences. But smart contracts are the same thing as self-sovereign identity. It is one of the important building blocks for blockchain technology use cases. And of course, with the smart contract, you have simple uses like digital value exchange. And that is, I'm sending you Bitcoin and I'm receiving the Bitcoin, and that's it. Then the basic smart contract, as it was in the ICOs, I send you a digital, I send you a cryptocurrency or your crypto asset, and in exchange, you give me the tokens, and this happens totally automatic with the help of the smart contracts. But then you can also build complex systems like the distributed autonomous business unit, distributed autonomous organization, and so on. You know, we are talking about the DeFi projects, and the most important building block for the DeFi projects is a smart contract. There could not be a DeFi project without smart contracts. It is really important that they are done properly, safely, and so on. And yes, there are distributed autonomous organizations. You probably heard about that organization in 2016 when then the DAO hack on the Ethereum happened. But also this distributed autonomous organization has a possibility of voting, of distributing funds, of actually doing very complex very complex organization there on blockchain. So yes, smart contract and combined with the self-sovereign identity of blockchain, this is something that is the future. Okay. Blockchain Alliance Europe is based in Slovenia because most of the founding projects, organizations, businesses are also based in Slovenia. And in Slovenia from 2018, you can survive solely if you have crypto assets or cryptocurrencies. Yes. You could, from 2018, you can buy groceries, you can, pay in taxes, you can go to the hairdresser, you can go to stores, buy clothes, everything just if you are owning cryptocurrencies. And that's why the instant crypto payment infrastructures, we have just one here, but there are multiple all around the world, are the ones that are helping the mass adoption. Why? Because the payments are still the most understood use case of blockchain technologies. The lay public knows mostly about this, so it is easier to get users that will use crypto as a payment. So certainly if you have such use case, then you see that something works. What will happen in the future? Well, probably the users won't know in depth or apps that they are using the blockchain technology. It won't be advertised. It will just be, I don't know, faster, safer, simpler, and so on. But the user won't know, as we don't know today on what kind of technology our emails work. You don't care what is the protocol. You just want to see your email that is sent from one place to another, and that's it. And probably here with blockchain technology will be the same. Because the user, the general public, will not, bother themselves with if this is done on blockchain or not. But it can bring some seals, some stamps that something is more secure, that something is more fair, that something is distributed, cannot be tampered with, and so on. So let's sum up. What are the important steps to achieve this mass adoption of blockchain technology that we were talking about in the last minutes? One thing that is really, really important are the professionals and the community. You have to have professionals that really know their business, that they know what they're doing, and that are the educators about blockchain technology. And the community, those first early adopters. This has to form because they are the one that will criticize, they are the one that will push, they are the one that will see the benefits of a certain idea or a technology, and they will advocate and they will evangelize. And this is really important, and professionals are important. Here in the blockchain crypto space, there was a time where everybody was a crypto or blockchain professional, but now also this area is a little bit different. We are, as a Blockchain Alliance, we're really working on that we give the professionals, those that really know what they're doing, their credit. And this is one of the, blocks that will build the adoption, that will lead us to the mass adoption. Then, of course, education and communication. We have to have proper communication about blockchain technology, not just about the hypes of Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever other crypto assets you like. Not just about what kind of opportunistic opportunity this means, but we have to also talk about technology as itself. And we have to educate as many as possible about the blockchain technology. And the third is our successful projects, companies, startups, those that really innovate and bring that something extra to this space. Those that will shine, that will be unicorns, and that we'll talk about, and that will also, take them as role models, how something should be done. And yes, there are successful projects there, and hopefully there will be many, many more. Okay. This is the end of my presentation about the blockchain technology adoption. If you want to talk, if you want to contact me, here are my, you can always write me an email or find me also on Telegram. You're very welcome to share your thoughts because, this is not something that is a certain fact. This is something to be debated, how the mass adoption will happen. And of course, every idea is valuable and interesting. So thank you again for this opportunity to speak and see you in one of the next events.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much Digital for Foundation giving me an opportunity to speak about international conference on crypto finance and blockchain technologies. It is great to be part of World Digital Week, talking along with all the expertise in blockchain space, in cryptography space from around the world. My topic is going to speak. My topic is more on speaking about the future of money and blockchain. I just want to discuss more about how we can create an ecosystem for decentralized finance. How we can use blockchain, how we can use technologies like central bank digital currency CBDC, and also cryptography or NFT to build an ecosystem or build a sustainable finance model to establish entrepreneurs who have been in the business for a long time and they would like to contribute to the ecosystem. It's also the idea is how we can actually build a holistic ecosystem for everyone in the world. So that is where my focus is going to be. So I would like to talk about both sides of it. Initially, talk about more about the blockchain, how entrepreneurs can get get into the ecosystem, how they can create business models in blockchain, how they can create products in blockchain. Then after, obviously, how they can grow their business, and then looking at the global market, they can also exit from their business. So it's a very much like an end-to-end solution. I would like to discuss about it. So the money plays a bigger part in any business, right? You might have a great idea, but to execute that idea in a real world, you need couple of things. One is definitely you need a great business model first, how to take this idea to the market, whether you want to do business to business, whether you want to do business directly to consumers, or you want to work with the government to basically make things happen. So this is the first thing that everybody wants to fix it when they are talking about their business and model. But the second most important thing is building a team, and without a team you cannot literally build a product. Yes, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be a techie, you can be do coding 24/7. So you can build and proof of concept and bring it to the market, because that is your idea, that's what people want to see or the investors want to see. So definitely being a founder, you can do that on your own. But when it comes to taking that idea to the next level, connecting them to the market or your go-to-market strategy, connecting them right kind of audience to even get the lead generation, or even taking it to the taking it to the investors to pitch that idea, get funds. So all these things needs team, and when you actually going and hiring a team, the first thing you need is definitely their talent, what kind of skill sets they have, what kind of expertise they have, how they can bring value to your business. But in return, obviously, you have to pay them. So this is where the money comes into picture. And we all know that ideation stage, nobody takes that risk, takes that kind of risk, is because it's a very high risk proposition. Nobody takes that risk to put the money. They want to see some traction in the market, they want to see some some leveling of work in the market, and they want to taste that in the market, so that once you have that proposition being accepted by the community or by the market, open market, then obviously you have like different level of investors come in and they put their money, or they invest in your idea. But to basically build that, it's a very micro level things I'm talking about. But if you look at the macro level things that we need to discuss, probably with a regional level or state level, or if you're talking about national level, or at a world economy, it's pretty much works in the same same functionality point of view. And that is where we need to create a sustainable ecosystem. So we're talking about 7 billion plus population in the world. And if you look at the economy from the demographic point of view, there are developed countries, there are semi-developed or developing countries, there are also poor countries which actually need support to get to the next level. But to make everything happen, the first thing you need is the trust, right? And now, because of certain situations in the world like COVID-19 and everything, it is very difficult for business people to meet one-to-one basis, travel undisruptedly, and have personal conferences or personal appearances, personal meetings. So the ultimate thing left with us is basically connecting with each other through the virtual platforms like digital conferences, virtual conferences, or even Zoom calls and Google Meet, and etc., Skype, all this. So when you actually adopt this new kind of technology or new kind of conversation, so everybody wants to see whether they are actually talking to the right person, because there are various mediums of this communication, right? You can have chat based or text based communication, you can have audio based communication, you can have also video based communication. So there are various types of communication with one another, but the fundamental of each and everything is, are you talking the right person, are you talking the person that you want to really communicate? So how do you basically take that decision, because everybody's time is very precious. I think that is where the blockchain as a technology plays a very major role, because anybody and everybody with having an email ID or phone number right now, they can create an account, right? But doesn't mean they are the person, or that's the person that you are looking to communicate. It could be anybody having just a computer skill sets, they can actually do that. But to know the right person, the right identity of that person, you need to get to that due diligence level. You need to reach to that particular, do a validation, and that validation part comes from basically the technology that we have right now, it is blockchain. So how do you basically do that? So we have like 3 to 4 layers of already KYC already been created in blockchain, so that anybody who is creating an account based on their thumb impression or facial recognition, there are multiple layers of security we can actually put, so that the person who is actually creating an account is the real person, and he's not a bot, he's not a robot, right? Or not a fake account, not a fake account. So that's where the blockchain technology can play a major role. The second part is transparency. There are multiple transactions happening in businesses every day. I mean, I would say every minute, right, or every second of the hour, right? So when these kind of transactions happening, it's very difficult to get a track. That's the first thing. Second thing, also look at the performance of the business. See like whether that transaction is a legal transaction, is that a proper, that is required by your organization or by any investor or even the government for compliances purposes. So basically authenticity of that transaction we need to track, and this is very difficult to do that, because right now there are many softwares available where you can actually force those things. You can manipulate your Excel sheets, your financials, and you can give it to someone. So until and unless we have a verified system, we have a secured or safe ecosystem, we cannot actually go back and check and track that. So that's very much important. Third most important thing, I would say, the transactions, like each and every transactions that is happening, it needs to be tracked, it needs to be secured, it needs to be safe. Because when you have multiple transactions happening from one account to another account or multiple accounts, so you have to depend, as per our traditional ecosystem or financial ecosystem, you have to depend on the centralized bank, like I mean, obviously, to give you the report, and that takes a too much time to get access to that documents, then verify that, then recheck that. So this is really going to take time. So now today's era, where the business is happening very fast and on an immediate basis, we need something that can actually help to get those I would say parameters done, and they can take it to the next level. So that is where the blockchain can play a very major role. So what exactly blockchain is? So that's what we need to understand. And to be very in simple language, it's a it's a database. It's a decentralized database. It's unimmutable, so you cannot actually change it. Once the node is created, then you cannot change it. So it is protected, it is secured. And third thing is, if you have multiple layers of communication position in the organization, so you basically take a consensus when you actually develop anything and you want to share with anyone. So because you also need to be make sure that the information that you are sharing, or the private privacy data, that the data that you are sharing with others are actually secured. It's also protected, and that's where the blockchain plays a major role. So looking at all these things, so what we're trying to do is basically create a global decentralized or global blockchain technology consortium. So the whole idea is to bring the expertise from around the world together, and build softwares or develop softwares that can be champions for all the the large scale industries or small medium enterprises, as well as startups. So we work on a very open source technology platform, where we develop the software, we exchange these softwares across the countries or across the organizations. Then we exchange the technical expertise as well. So now we have a very a matured ecosystem, I would say. If you talk about like Silicon Valley with in US, or Silicon Roundabout in London in UK, or Silicon Corridors of India, which is we call Silicon Plateau of So these are the destinations where it is very much matured right now, and our idea is to connect these hubs together, this innovation hubs together, so that is innovation can happen every time. And particularly talking about the technology and the implementation part or deployment part, what we're trying to do is basically building clusters in and around, so that we can assist these companies or individual founders who are there for business, who want to do business across the world, but they want a protected system, they want to have a secure transactions, they want to have a safer communication. So this is what we are trying to do. We have three multiple layers of doing it. One is we do have a certification program, so we make sure that particularly the developer community is empowered, they know what they are building, and also there is a right intention behind it, so nobody actually get trapped, or nobody get you know very much like providing a right kind of in IT infrastructure for the ecosystem. The second part, we actually work on an accelerator mode or cohort mode, which gives us a kind of a platform to bring all these ideas together, discuss the ideas with each other on a very open source platform, so that each and everybody can with a consensus, of course, they can actually talk to each other, they can get the validation of their idea in the right platform, and then after bringing a mentor pool, so that these mentors can actually help these startups to take the idea to the next level, whether building a simple proof of concept that can be validated in the market through the technology hubs, or maybe they can build a complete minimum viable product in collaboration with a large enterprise or the government, so that their idea can be adopted by somebody else at a larger scale, and it can be implemented stage by stage basis. So you need the right kind of technical and non-technical expertise. So this is what we actually focus on, to bring in the right kind of mentors who can help to take these ideas or take these concepts to a viable product in the market. And then after, what we bring in is we have already a kind of ecosystem where we can actually take this idea and convert it into an enterprise concept. So it means obviously you have the paid customers, you have the enterprise partners, so that your business can be sustainable. It takes some time to get there, but once you are there, and once you are already doing business on a regular basis, so that increases your bandwidth, that increases the revenue volume, that brings new business opportunities to on the table. So that's where we again focusing on. The third most important thing is we are already building a fund, the one I'm going to talk about, the future of money, is a tokenized platform. So if you see the businesses in a traditional approach, like you normally see businesses who have ideas, they either get supports from friends or family, at an initial level, they borrow the money or take the money on a loan basis, they build the product, take it to the market. If it works, great, then obviously they have the traction. After a certain period of time, they go to the private equity investors or angel investors, raise the money. So this is the only target, or they go to traditional banks and take a loan and then expand as a basis. But if you look at those kind of models, it takes a lot of time, and it's very difficult to basically build a business. If it is a tech business, if it is a service based business, then having that kind of traction, bringing those kind of ecosystem together to make things happen takes a lot of time, and also it consumes a lot of energy, a lot of collaboration, all these things to make things happen. So what is and again, you need to have a proper background to either a financial background or an entrepreneurship background, so that you can actually build this products and take it to the market. But what we feel is, basically, if you really want, you believe in your idea and you want to bring a community together who can support you, both financially, as well as technical aspects, or from non-technical perspective as well, you can build a financial digital asset right now. And that digital asset is, we call it non-fungible token, or NFT. So basically, it's a private blockchain layer you built on top of the enterprise softwares available right now, and you can actually distribute those kind of tokens in the market. So it means you can allow investors right from the day one you are in business. So this is where the future of money is going to be, whether it is in cryptography from form of bitcoins, ethereum, other kind of money, digital money available, or else you can have your own digital currency of your own, and you can actually start a business right from the day one of your operation starts. So this is where we actually see the future is going to be, because there are a lot of investors who are also looking alternative modes of investment. And particularly, if you look at the global transactions that is happening, everybody is seeking for opportunities where they can actually invest in a larger audience, a larger market. They can have a safer journey with you, so that needs to be protected. Third is, obviously, the transaction has to be safe. The transaction has to be secured. So that's where the blockchain technology can play a major role, and NFT, non-fungible token, is also an opportunity coming in. So to make things happen, what we have done is we have introduced three things. One is the blockchain technology. So we have built products. We have now available use cases where we have built products or platforms in blockchain, where anybody having an idea or products, they can simply put their products on our platform. We can actually create hash for them. So that means we are actually very technical things. So we can create node for them. So they actually own these products. They are the authority of that product. And it's a virtual marketplace where anybody and everybody having a digital wallet, they can actually buy the product or sell the product. So that gives more power to the business side of the community, to basically listing their products, selling their products and stuff. On the other side, you have also investors who coming in and buying these products, or being a transfer their funds, so that you raise money right from the day one, based on your product capacity, based on the market, based on the future of the transactions or your social capital. You can actually create that. So all these products that is we have built is right from the luxury products or limited edition products. We have like technologies available for healthcare. You have products for sports personalities, musicians, business, media and entertainment world, where independent producers, independent content creators can actually set up an NFT and they can do it. You have physical artists or digital artists who used to go or travel to sell their products in museums, in different exhibitions. Now they can actually set up virtual exhibitions to sell their product, to buy and sell the products or services over there. So these are the kind of use cases we have already created, but there are many opportunities out there, say for example fintech. So if you talk about the financial technology now, we can talk a little bit more about the decentralized finance, DeFi. So the whole idea is, instead of depending everything or every time, I would say, on the one centralized authority, the central bank, we can actually have multiple layers where we can actually create tokens or digital money of any a particular organization or any particular authority, and then after for a particular city or particular country, then they can actually consider it as a legal tender or legal money for the currency they're going to use, and they can also raise money for their country, for their project, and everything from there. So this is something is coming up, and there are many countries who have been adopting this kind of technology to build their own digital currencies, put all of their services, major services like aviation, their buying and selling, their construction, all these products they're putting on blockchain, so that they can actually decentralize the whole ecosystem. They can invite world global investors to their platform and get the product to the next level. So that is where I think the decentralized finance plays a major role, when it comes to building an ecosystem or future sustainable ecosystem, I would say. Then there is a concept being coming up in the in the ecosystem right now is CBDC, the digital identity, and connecting that with the central bank digital currency. So instead of again going back every time to your bank and doing it, when it comes to global transactions, cross-border transactions, it takes days, it takes weeks. So right now no business has that kind of bandwidth. They can wait for that much time, because you need real world services and real time services, right? That is what the consumers expectations are, or the customers expectations are. So to meet that expectations, we need to create a real time transactions as well. And that is where instead of going through the manual process, or eventually long process of 5 to 6 days, 7 days, sometimes weeks, we can actually create digital currency that can be accepted by banks, and you can actually do a transaction, you can clear the process. Then after, obviously it needs the banks to settle the process post that. So that can be possible, and you just need an authorization from the central bank that this legal tender that you have created, or the money that the digital money that you have created is actually authorized and it is accepted by other people with a consensus. So this is the next level of ecosystem development that is happening right now, and it will help to do the cross-border transactions very fast. It will bring new opportunities to many countries who have been always depending on the World Bank to borrow money to do developments and pay back. So they can actually create assets as well, digital assets of the infrastructure they have, of the capital they have. I mean, capital in the sense social capital they have, also the intellectual capital they have, and based on that they can actually build digital assets, digital identity ecosystem, and they can come back and to the world community of investors, and they can approach that and take it to the next level. To make everything happen, you obviously need collaborations amongst the community, and that is where we think the non-fungible token or NFTs can build can play a very, very significant role, and not only for the government but for the community overall, for the entrepreneurs community, for policymakers community, for all the support system that is required can be actually done through the NFTs. So you have a product that is already available in private blockchain, and then you can share that with a permission blockchain to anybody that you want to. And then there are also government projects which is like healthcare, education, welfare services. All these things can be put on a public blockchain, and anybody entrepreneurial community can actually get access to those data, those information, create something which is very valuable for that particular service or product they want to build, and then regulate it so that we can actually create more products, bring more transparency to the ecosystem, as well as build a sustainable future for our next generation. I would say. So overall, I would say the cryptography finance, as well as the technology behind it, the blockchain technology has a major role to play at every level of decision making. And uh, if we start adopting this new technology and building products for different services, different challenges we have, I think the world will be in a very secured, safe, secured place. um, Everybody in the ecosystem can get benefit out of it. um, the transactions that will be happening among the the communities, among the businesses, among the government, even cross-border country transactions can be secured. um, as we are growing with internet, you know uh, we need a safer communication mode, and blockchain can actually bring it. Blockchain can actually do it, so blockchain technology can be deployed for this. So I think overall the, the technology has a greater role to play. Now it's up to us how we going to develop it in an open source platform, how we going to deploy it, how we can build a sustainable ecosystem that can be used by or for future generations. So I'm very optimistic. I'm very much optimistic. Being an entrepreneur and as well as investor in NFT space, we have developed products. It's already full-fledged running, so we are very positive towards it. There are some roadblocks, like regulatory aspects of it. There are many countries who are not ready to take this challenge to accept it, as a legal tender. So I would definitely request to those countries, please look at some of the use cases, please look at some of the best practices that is available across at a global platform or a global system. uh, Please try to adopt it at an initial level, use it in a day-to-day activity, and then after, as a community, uh, I think you can take decisions whether to accept it or not accept it. But with a positive note, I would like to end this discussion and conversation. I'm sure there are many questions for the audience to ask. There are many industries which has been on tapped right now with blockchain technology, or the cutting edge new technology, be it artificial intelligence, machine learning, or internet of things. But I think if we combine these technologies together and build the products or build platforms or services that is required, and make the automation process, make the automation right from the day one, I think we can achieve great milestones. We have the goals that we need to do, be it climate change, be it building the next sustainable ecosystem for the world. So that's definitely we can achieve that. So with this note, thank you so much for the opportunity again, Digital for Foundation. I'm very thankful, World Digital Week, to giving us this platform to talk about the current challenges, situations, and how we can come out of that. So definitely, I think I'm looking forward for the Q&As soon. Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome to European Digital Week. This is Subhasis Das connecting from India, and I hope that you and your family is doing well because we have went through a lot in 2020 and 2021, and I really hope that 2022 will be different. So today I'll be speaking on blockchain and how blockchain is changing the world. So, before we start, let me have a quick introduction about myself. So, I have been working with some of the most innovative companies in the world, like IBM, which files the largest number of patents in a year, Maersk, which is the largest shipping company in the world, Philips, which is trying to bring in innovation into the healthcare industry. And presently, I am working as a finance manager in Cargill, which is a market leader in agriculture and different kind of uh, biotech products. Uh, so by qualification, I am a CMA, I am a certified Bitcoin professional and a blockchain developer. I have written 2 bestseller books, designed few innovative educational apps that is helping the finance and accounting students to learn better. So I have only 15 minutes to discuss about this vastly complex topic, blockchain. So I'll not be able to touch upon the all of the different aspects of blockchain. But one thing I can promise to you that after finishing this session, you will be having some takeaways that you can for your further learning in your blockchain journey. So these are the learning outcomes. You will be learning about the basics of blockchain, types of blockchain, blockchain SWOT analysis, and blockchain revolution. So let's start with basics of blockchain. Let's take a simple example. Like suppose Bob wants to send $100 to Murphy online. So before 2008, there was only one way to do it. They have to depend on banks and financial intermediaries. That is why I'm mentioning here it is a peer-to-bank to peer network, because Bob and Murphy are peers here and the bank is sitting as an intermediary. Let's assume that Bob and Murphy are maintaining their bank accounts in the same bank. So what the bank will do, it will reduce Bob's ledger balance and it will increase Murphy's ledger balance. So if you see, banks and financial intermediaries, they just work as a trusted bookkeepers. So I have taken bank just as an example, but there are millions of intermediaries between you and me if we want to do some kind of transactions of value. These intermediaries can be government bodies, financial institutions, credit card companies, tech giants like Google and Facebook, online marketplaces that connects buyers and millions of sellers like Amazon, legal bodies. So the point I am trying to make here, that any transaction of value that must be recorded in some kind of ledgers. For example, uh, let's understand what is a ledger. The ledger is nothing but a log of data. Okay, it's nothing but you can think of it as a notebook. Only now, after the digital revolution, we are using the databases. Those are ledgers. So ledgers are really important because they create institutional facts. So for example, this house exists. It is a brute fact. But my ownership of this house is not a brute fact. It has to be recorded in some kind of ledger. Okay, we'll see what kind of ledger it is. So for example, suppose I bought this house. What is the first thing I will be doing? I'll go to the registry office and I will enter my details into the records of registry office. The record of register office is a centralized ledger, a trusted ledger. So if I want to transfer my house, again I have to record the transfer in the records of registry office. Similarly, if we want to execute any kind of contracts, we have to depend on many intermediaries like lawyers, government agencies. Even for our identity, we have to depend on some kind of centralized ledger. Like suppose your name is not appearing in the citizen database, you are in bad luck because you will not be considered as the citizen of this country. Ledgers also give a confirmation of status and authority. For example, let's take a simple thing like how do you know that you passed or failed in an exam? You have to check the records of your university. And regarding the authority, we can say that the constitution of a country is also a ledger because it gives authority to states and center, to MPs and MLAs. So ledgers are really important, and if you see, all these ledgers are maintained by certain trusted third parties or intermediaries. Why? Because suppose I want to sell a car to you and I note it down in my notebook, you will not believe on my notebook. That is why we have to go to the RTO office, or we have to record the details in the transportation department's record, because we trust the transportation department. So it acts as a trusted third party. So the ledgers maintained by these trusted third parties are called centralized ledgers. So the crucial point here is we have to trust these intermediaries and their ledgers, and this trust comes with a cost. Let's see what are the costs. Like the centralized ledgers are maintained in centralized databases. So whenever a pile of data is stored in a single place, it is prone to attacks. Like there can be cyber attacks, system failures, physical destructions. We lost our data. Similarly, we trust these intermediaries to keep our private information safe. Remember, while you opened a bank account, how many details you have to provide? You have to tell your name, your father's name, your spouse name, where you are staying, what job you are doing, what is your date of birth. So all these are private details. Those should be kept secure. But as we have seen over the last 2 decades, there has been huge data breaches. Similarly, identity theft is a major issue because we provide our identity to these trusted third parties, and obviously they try to secure it, but because of the nature of their centralized databases, there is always a risk of leaking the data, leaking the identity information and all. Next thing is censorship. For example, if you are using Twitter, if you don't follow their guidelines, if you have a different kind of opinion, they can just remove you from their platform. I think they have done it for the last American president also. And the next thing is, whenever we are keeping our money in the bank, we trust the bank that it will be managing its finances well and it will not go bankrupt. But still, it is a trust. It can go bankrupt. The thing is, there are huge transaction costs also. Just because of record keeping, these intermediaries charge huge transaction cost. Suppose you want to make a cross-border transaction, you have to pay huge fees. Then there comes the legal cost. So whenever you introduce a third agent, between the transacting parties, there is always a chance of third party risk. So those kind of disputes increase your legal cost. Lastly, corruption. So when power is centralized with few people, it's human greed. They can manipulate information. They can change the details, bribery, changing the details, selling your private information, misrepresenting the financial statement, all kind of corruptions. This is the cost of trust we have to pay. So what is the need for trusting these intermediaries? Because there are many costs that are involved. Uh, so this begs a question that why do we trust these intermediaries? We trust these intermediaries because we can't trust each other. Yes, we can't trust each other in transactions of value because assets, they don't work like information. For example, after this internet revolution, it is very easy for us to send information across the globe. Like by one click, we can send documents, mails, videos, photos, everything. But all kind of digital set, or if I can say, all kind of digital things, they can be infinitely copied. But when you come to assets, for example, money, you don't want it to be infinitely copied because money has to be scarce. The assets should be limited because resources are limited. It is not unlimited. But if you look at the uh, digital resources, they can be copied infinitely. That is why we need an intermediary for all our digital transactions so that nobody can make a copy of transactions. So suppose in the previous example, we have seen that Bob has sent $100 to Murphy. He should not be able to write another entry into the ledger that he is spending the same $100 to Lindy. Then that will be a double spending of the same $100. It has been called famously the double spending problem. And until 2008, nobody had found a solution for double spending problem. That is without involving the intermediaries. So the question, the challenge is, can we create a mechanism where we don't need to trust any intermediaries for verifying our ownership and transfer of assets? So in 2008, we have invented the trust protocol or blockchain. The first application of blockchain was Bitcoin, the famous cryptocurrency, and it was developed by a pseudonymous person, a shadowy kind of figure called Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't know. He is still some kind of mystery. So, what is blockchain? So, Mr. Satoshi, while introducing the prototype of blockchain, wrote in a CryptoPunk forum that I have developed a new open source P2P gas system called Bitcoin. It is completely decentralized with no central server or trusted third parties, because everything is based on crypto proof instead of trust. So basically what he is telling, that the transaction will be happening cash to cash without any intermediaries. There is no need to trust any intermediaries. So what is blockchain? Blockchain is open source software. Anybody can download, run, make improvements to it. It is a distributed ledger. So a copy of database is available with millions of nodes, millions of computers, or even if it is not a million, thousands of computers. So in case of bank, the details are stored in a centralized ledger, which is prone to single point of failure. But in case of distributed ledger, since it is spread across a network, even a single computer fails, it doesn't affect the whole blockchain. So the next thing is, it is a decentralized network. Like, it is managed by a mass collaboration. It is a bunch of people who come together to manage the things. They bring their own individual computers, they connect with through a open source software. Nobody controls the network, everyone has equal right in the network. They verify the details, they update the details by connecting with each other. Secure and immutable, because transactions are recorded in batches called blocks, and they are linked to the previous block through a cryptographic technique called hash. Think of hash as a fingerprint. So any digital document is having a fingerprint. So the previous block hash will be included in the current block hash, and the current block hash will be generated. So if there is any detail which is changing in the previous block, it will change its own hash. And since the hash is linked to this present block hash will be changed. Again, all the subsequent blocks will be changing. So any change anywhere in the blockchain will be noticed instantly. Moving to next, let's go back to Bob's example and how he will transfer the $100. Let's say he's transferring 100 bitcoins. BTC is the short form of Bitcoin. So he'll be using a peer-to-peer network. Here there is no bank. So everybody is peers, everybody is having independent computers. They will be maintaining they will be recording the ledger in their own databases. I'm mentioning as blockchain, and everyone will coordinate with each other to update the ledger so that it is correct. Okay. So the blockchain transaction process will happen like this. Bob will initiate the transaction through a wallet software. It will broadcast the transaction to the P2P network, and there will be some mining nodes. Mining is nothing but verifying the transaction and adding it to the blockchain. So these guys will be competing with themselves to create a block of transactions. Once a valid block is created, then it will be transferred to again the P2P network, and they will be verifying it. And since these miners have spent substantial resources in the form of electricity and computational power, they will be rewarded with new currencies. And this new block will be added in the blockchain, and the updated blockchain will be circulated with the network. So here you can see the block structure. You can go through it by yourself by pausing the video. But one thing I want to show you here, actually the previous block hash. So the block hash, here you can see hash of the previous block header. It is included here. The hash of the previous block is included here. So if anything is changed in the block one, it will change the block hash of block one. And since its hash is included in block 2, it will change the block 2 hash also. It will change the block 3 hash also. So the change will be apparent and everybody will be noticing it. So types of blockchain we are having, like blockchain is like a ledger only. So we will classify it on the basis of read, write, and commit transactions. There are two types of blockchains, like public and private. Public blockchains, which we have discussed now, like Bitcoin blockchains. So there will be two kinds of blockchains within the public, like permissionless and permission. The permissionless blockchain is totally decentralized. Anybody can join, read, write, and commit. It is hosted in public software. People can remain anonymous, but it is very low. It has very low scalability. Permissioned blockchains will permit some people to join and read, but it will not give them right access. Private blockchains are very good for organizations, business entities, because they don't want to disclose everything to public. And in permissionless, the restrictions are less, and the permission, definitely the restrictions are more. So here are few examples of public blockchains, that is Bitcoin, Ethereum, DAS, Factom, and here are the attributes of public blockchains. They are completely decentralized. They're having a public ledger open to everyone. They're censorship resistant, that nobody can shut them down. People are anonymous. Moving to next, we are having enterprise level blockchains. Like it is suitable for business. Here, people's privacy is important, not anonymity, because everybody knows everyone. Provenance tracking is easy, so you can track the transaction to its roots. Single shared ledgers with multiple stakeholders can be maintained. Transparency and legal disputes, better coordination, value creation can happen, because there will be less dispute, because one single ledger will be maintained across all the parties, so the chance of legal disputes will be less. So blockchain SWOT analysis, I just wanted to show you the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats of blockchain technology. And here you can see the strength, that it provides decentralization. It shifts the control from a certain group of people to the masses, and there is no single point of failure. It is open source, highly secure. Asset provenance can be tracked, asset history can be tracked, dynamic and fluid value exchange, for example, tokens, cryptocurrencies. Opportunities are a lot. Like value innovation, you can create new kind of like tokens, you can create new kind of decentralized organizations. Reduced fraud, obviously, reduced legal and audit cost, new business models are possible, reduced financial intermediaries, reduced third party risk. Weaknesses are still there is very few blockchain professionals, so skill scarcity is there. Lack of trust due to new technology, which is obvious. Customers are unfamiliar with this new technology, so they don't have a good user experience. Wallet and key management is essential, but I will not be covering this wallet and key management here. Scalability is a big thing. Like public blockchains, they face huge scalability issues. Like threats will be your legal and jurisdictional barriers, because there can be laws which can prevent you from making cryptocurrency transaction. Political diplomacy can play a great role as a threat. Poor governance, because there is no law, there is no nothing. So if you are if you are defrauded by the system, nobody is going to help. So lack of legal structure, there is no legal structure or law now. Moving further, let's go to the blockchain revolution, and you can see that blockchain is revolutionizing the public services domain completely. That you will be in future, you will be seeing your public records, your land records, property records will be saved in blockchain. Digital certificates, educational, death, birth marriage certificates will be saved in blockchain. Pharmaceutical supply chains will be possible, like a blockchain enabled e-sign possible. Identity management, because for the identity we depend on the third parties, blockchain can provide the identity uh, uh, in a more uh, transparent way. So power distribution, duty payments, tax payments, agriculture and other supply chains, e-voting is possible, because many times we think that voting is manipulated, but with blockchain the voting will be totally immutable, so electronic health record management, nobody can tamper with your health related data. Digital evidence management system, this is good for your investigating agencies. They will have a good evidence tracking system. Public service delivery will be improved. So next part is automated contracts. Like contracts are the backbone of any kind of business dealings. So here the automated contracts will be like the terms and conditions will be coded in a software, and it executes automatically whenever the conditions are met. So it is stored within the blockchain, that is why it is immutable, it is distributed, and it eliminates the needs of mediation. For example, suppose you are starting a crowdfunding project, and the contract is written in a code and available to all the stakeholders. If you meet the goals, then the contract automatically transfers the fund to your production team. But if your goals are not met, obviously the contract itself will transfer back the funds to the supporters. So a new kind of accounting. First there was single. Let me take a quote of UG actually. So first there was single entry system where we are writing down what happened. Okay, like I brought a car. Like then the double entry system came, like because of Luca Pacioli, and there we have to explain the reasoning behind the I brought the car, for what, like for credit or for sales. So this kind of things called double entry bookkeeping, and here you can see the problems with this kind of system, because here you can see participant A, participant B. They're having two books separately, and there are bank records, auditor records, regulator. And so everybody is having their own records which are not connected with each other. Okay, so it makes the system very inefficient, expensive to maintain, and these are like single point of failures, so they're vulnerable to threats. Okay, so the problems with present day accounting systems, like since it is a centralized management breeds corruption. For example, Enron, WorldCom, time consuming and costly to maintain. Obviously, a single point of failure. Obviously, reconciliation and legal dispute, since ledgers are maintained in different entities. You have to reconcile your transactions with other parties. Corrupted audit system, as we can see, many like big four firms are involved in this kind of corruptions. Human error is obvious. Lack of transparency. The solution is to have a single database spread across multiple organizations, multiple stakeholders, like maintain a single record which will be accessed by banks, insurance companies, auditors, regulators, your counterparty with whom you are transacting. So all the counterparty party transactions will be recorded within the blockchain, so that it provides a immutable proof of facts which happened. Next, I'm moving to the last part of this section, that blockchain helps in effective supply chains. Suppose you brought a apple in your in your grocery store, and like it claims that it is a very organic apple, but how would you verify? Because if you see the supply chain, the apple comes from a farm to processor, distributor, and every point there will be few documentation which is created, and these documentations are not properly tracked. Okay, suppose we track these documentations in blockchain, within few seconds we can know the like from which farm the apple came. So suppose I eat the apple and got sick, we can know that at which point of time some kind of toxins or insects or bacteria affected the apple, so this kind of things can prevent pandemics from spreading. So I wanted to talk about many more things, like the tokenomics, the decentralized organizations, and IoT, and there are a lot of things, but since I have 15 minutes, I just have to wind up here. So thank you for joining me. I hope to see you in next year. Bye.
Hello, and thank you for joining wherever you are. My name is Dennis Wanshi. I'm the founder and CTO of Netra Digital. I'm also an advisor to Tilebase. Today, I'm going to be talking about blockchain, DeFi cryptocurrencies, and central bank digital currencies as catalysts for open finance innovation. I want to start off by thanking the team at European Digital Week for their kind invitation. It's certainly appreciated. Okay, so just to welcome you to London, I have a very quick video I shot yesterday, so hopefully you enjoy it. Okay, the objective of this talk is basically to propose a high-level decentralized framework for delivering open finance. Now, I realize that's an overlaid statement, but as you'll see, we're going to delve into some of the related topics that have led to the onset of open finance discussions. So this session will outline some key considerations for cross-industry stakeholders and propose a framework for delivering sustainable innovation, security, and business resilience in open finance. To do this, I'm going to take a look at key elements of open banking, DeFi, as well as CBDCs, as mentioned earlier on. Now, I'm assuming most attendees are familiar with the principles and core components of blockchain. So there we go. So what is open banking? Open banking, the goal is to transfer ownership of account information to the customer so they can make much more informed decisions when it comes to their finances. Open banking, in essence, enables consumers to share their data with other banks and gain access to a wide variety of authorized applications and services with much more clarity, empowering them to have better control over their finances. Data shared may include things as simple as simple records such as branch location, details of banking products, and so on and so forth, all depending, of course, on what how much information the consumer wants to make available to those third parties. So open banking enables consumers to compare personal and business accounts in order to get the best deal. So it's actually creating value for the customer while also creating a marketplace for other fintechs and other service providers. Looking at the European market, the revised Payment Services Directive, or PSD2, has led to significant change in the foundations of the financial services industry, with a raft of challenger banks continues to grow their market share. In the US, aggregators such as Mint.com effectively own the last mile of the customer banking relationship and are disrupting traditional players. In the UK, in the 3 years since PSD2 marked the start of open banking, the UK is, some would say, gained the position of a leader in the space when it comes to open banking. Looking at some stats, we have over 300 fintechs and innovative providers that have joined the ecosystem. More than 2.5 million UK consumers and businesses now use open banking enabled products. The number of API calls increased from 66.8 million in 2018 to almost 5.8 billion in 2020. 320 open banking payments made in 2018, rising to 4 million in 2020. So quite a jump. And all these stats are available from the Open Banking Implementation Entity, otherwise known as OBIE. If we look at Canada, the recent report by the Canadian Advisory Committee on Open Banking made some key recommendations for a new vision. These include 6 key consumer outcomes related to data protection, data control, increased choice in financial services, reliable and consistent services, access to services, proper recourse when issues arise, and consistent consumer protection and market conduct standards. A second point focused on placing a greater emphasis on financial inclusion. And when it comes to regulation, the committee recommended that open banking requires a hybrid made in Canada approach that harnesses the benefits of both industry and government-led models deployed elsewhere, but better reflects the Canadian context. So when we look at the Canadian example, I think we can all agree that placing the consumer at the center of open banking is a good way of driving real innovation across the financial services sector and creating value for the end customer as well. So let's look more broadly at the state of play with regards to open banking. So today, there's actually a report, a recent survey by Think entitled "Open Banking in the Post-Pandemic World," and they found that 68% of European financial executives raised their interest in open banking during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this was in part driven by the opportunities presented by the PSD2 mandate to reduce risk, anticipate financial distress, and drive sales while at the same time enhancing the customer experience. Similarly, the US and Canada, as mentioned, have signaled their interest in joining the 40+ jurisdictions around the world already implementing open banking in some form or another. Now, this global shift raises tough questions for financial service incumbents as well as fintechs, exploring how advances in technologies such as machine learning, AI, natural language processing, and APIs can be used for building sustainable and commercially viable solutions. You certainly don't want to make significant investments in digital solutions or banking models or business models only to find that they fail to live up to regulatory scrutiny or fail to meet evolving consumer trends. So here's a summary of some of the risks associated with open banking. Now, we know that with the right regulatory protections, strategic planning and execution, open banking promises to boost competition by enabling fintech companies and other entrants to use customer financial data to create new products and services through APIs. And while many benefits consumers and businesses are not in doubt, the routine transmission and storing of data between a growing list of open banking third parties has a real potential to create systemic risks in the financial services sector. There's a few examples. The increased risk of hacking, there's an increased risk of hacking and security compromises, particularly when it comes to third-party APIs with poor data protection, and we have seen those. Sharing accountability for consumer data security between multiple banks expands the attack surface, of course. There's a heightened risk of extensive financial losses and reputational damage as open banking partners are increasingly interconnected. So the question becomes, how do we design systemic indicators that can manage advanced cyber risk in an increasingly complex, data-driven, and interconnected financial ecosystem? We certainly have to answer that question before we can start going deep into the open finance arena, which of course is going to involve a wider set of entities. Now, this is where many believe that the fundamental strengths of blockchain technology can play a crucial role, but we'll touch on this a bit later on. So we're now going to take a look at open finance and exactly what it is and what kind of discussions are ongoing today. So open finance builds on the consumer consent principles of open banking by expanding consumer data sharing to a wider range of financial products. These may be investments, savings, mortgages, pensions, and insurance. But it doesn't stop there. There is a real likelihood we could see a new generation of financial products and services that don't even exist today. So there's real opportunities for innovation in the open finance environment. Now let's look at DeFi-based cryptocurrencies, because of course we know that there's been tremendous, I wouldn't call it disruption, but certainly there's been a lot of transformation happening and investment in these cryptocurrencies since Bitcoin was launched about 11 years ago. Some of the features of DeFi-based cryptocurrencies include, and by the way, this is DeFi includes the non-fungible tokens we hear in the news every day. So anyone's not aware of them, I'm sure everyone by now has heard of them. It's effectively a new asset class whereby investors and lenders use a process known as yield farming to lock up cryptocurrency tokens in exchange for trading fees to get higher returns on higher risk. So cryptocurrencies are built on the DeFi platform, secured by cryptography, making it almost impossible to counterfeit or double spend. They operate with zero central authority. They operate with zero central authority and use smart contract automation, market sentiment, and crowdfunding to gain scale. DeFi service-based platforms further expand the financial ecosystem with cryptocurrency offerings such as Bitcoin, Ether, EOS, to name just a few of the thousands of actual assets available on exchanges today. Just recently, DeFi topped over 100 billion for the first time as cryptocurrencies surged. And this is from Bloomberg this year. Now note that DeFi Pulse calculates the amount by combining the balance of Ether and other assets held in smart contracts settled on the Ethereum blockchain and multiplying them by their price in dollars. I only mention this because it emphasizes the importance of the transmission of funds and the associated information flows, a topic we're going to touch on a bit later We now come to central bank digital currencies, which themselves present unique challenges and opportunities within the global financial marketplace. So central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, presents both global and national level challenges and opportunities, which I will actually leave the economics of it, both the monetary and fiscal elements, to much more well-versed subject matter experts who are taking part in this European Digital Week event. I will, though, point out that we know that central bank policymakers and financial regulators will no doubt be incorporating lessons learned from today's financial systems in their decision-making process and enable the industry to build on the body of knowledge accumulated from things like open banking and so on and so forth. Let's take an example of when it comes to transferring money. It's not uncommon for the wire information to arrive before the actual funds. And although this may not sit well with real-time Rails modernization initiatives, it certainly provides a useful window for preventing fraud. The takeaway here is that even when designing CBDs with real-time Rails capability, we need to be cognizant that if the funds travel faster than the information, it could potentially elevate the systemic risk exposure. The way around this is to ensure the underlying architectures that manage the disparate information highways associated with the CBDC are as fast and as reliable as the funds themselves that are being transmitted across multiple complex networks. Now, I think it's fair to assume, and there's evidence to that effect, that Swift and Ripple and their partner networks are looking into ways to mitigate these kind of operational risks in readiness for more CBDC rollouts. And with new secure standards for interoperable smart contracts and APIs, paving the way for on-chain and off-chain data aggregation, data cleansing, machine learning modeling, there's a lot to be built on here. So we now come to open finance. So open finance aims to open up more data about consumer and business finance in order to empower the owners to make better financial decisions. It paves the way for the next generation of financial products and services such as insurance, asset management, funds, and other adjacent industries such as retail, telecommunications, hospitality, transportation, utilities, just to name a few. Now, the risk here, of course, is that open finance is going to expand the risk exposure by granting a wider set of entities with API-based access to consumer and business data. You can imagine the challenges that poses. If we do a quick comparison between the two, so with open banking, the existing model, you have banks using private APIs to share information with banking apps and their customers. With a future state open finance model, we now have public APIs being used to share information with banking apps, client applications, as well as integration, but also with third-party apps. So as mentioned earlier on, the risk surface is certainly expanded, and that has to be taken into consideration when designing those future state models. And this is where the case for blockchain is actually starts to make sense. One of the challenges posed by open finance is that the API stack is primarily constructed on the existing fiat currency and legacy centralized infrastructure, unlike fully centralized applications or DeFis, which reside on blockchain and use cryptocurrency and smart contracts to deliver customer value. There's a big difference there. The use of APIs in open finance to connect banks and third parties also present other challenges and risks such as data security, data privacy, increased financial exclusion, cross-platform friction, platform monopolies. All this while we're still awaiting regulatory clarity. So there's lots of challenges to deal with right now within the context of still awaiting regulation. So it's very difficult to design that end-state solution. But there are things that can be done, as we'll see. So today, there's lots of uncertainty, right? Cross-industry stakeholders are looking closely into how best to prepare for this new open banking open finance ecosystem, while also positioning the business to adapt to future regulation on cryptocurrencies and central bank digital currencies. With open finance set to enter the mainstream, and I think it's safe to assume it's going to happen, cryptocurrency payment volumes increasing, and CBDC planning discussions gaining momentum. An integrated and adaptable strategy that can support fiat payments infrastructure in parallel with cryptocurrency represents the safest target state. So, building on the case for blockchain, so to combat the systemic risks expected to accompany open finance, decision makers should take a holistic view that embraces the shift towards DeFi or cryptocurrencies, central bank digital currencies, and apply the lessons learned and best practices to date from zero trust security networks and advances in blockchain technology. The adoption of blockchain technology has grown in leaps and bounds over the years, resulting in significant gains in security, scalability, performance, and this has opened up new viable use cases beyond cryptocurrencies, as you may well know. We've got top researchers and the fast-growing community of software engineers working on crypto exchanges and NFTs. They've already laid out the foundations and the frameworks for eliminating friction, driving cost efficiencies in open finance, basically by using using dApps and interoperable smart contracts. Put another way, as the number and complexity of third-party providers increases, scalable decentralized architectures based on elastic cloud computing can help meet the demand. So what opportunities does blockchain provide for open finance initiatives? Let's have a look at some of the items on the list here. Well, open banking initiatives can implement distributed ledger technology on top of legacy banking APIs to provide a secure layer through which third parties can securely transact with the bank without directly interfacing with the core legacy systems. For large-scale blockchain networks, the need for scalability, performance, and operational resilience is driving many in the blockchain architecture design and engineering community towards interoperability instead of competing for finite resources. You may have heard of initiatives around trustless blockchain bridges because they have actually shown tremendous potential for opening up open finance, where consumer and business data will need to be shared across multiple channels and supply chains. So if you can actually build blockchains that can communicate with each other, it really helps to address the challenge of working together in a collaborative way. And that certainly speaks to opening up opportunities for sharing information in a much more secure way that creates value for the customers. Financial institutions can utilize the blockchain networks to transact securely among themselves in a trustless, low-cost environment. And by securely sharing information through a common blockchain network, the financial institutions can also identify business synergies and curate new financial products and services for target customer segments. Using the right protocols, consensus models, and oracles for managing off-chain data, a blockchain platform would enable the secure storage, audit tracking, aggregation, and monetization of industry-wide data while simplifying financial regulatory compliance procedures. So what we're really aiming for is a harmonized approach, architectural approach for minimizing systemic risk. When we have a situation whereby we look at the rollout or the incremental rollout of CBDCs, open finance, and DeFi as a regulatory environment is clearer, we should be thinking about how we can leverage the potential of blockchain networks as well as open finance APIs to work in cohesion, rather than looking at them as siloed technologies. We know from history has proven that when you don't apply these things in a much more smart way, you don't reap the benefits. But there's a real opportunity based on proof of concepts and so on and so forth that show that there is real value here. So while there remains uncertainty over the future regulatory climate for the financial services industry, positioning decentralized cybersecurity, zero trust architecture, data privacy, interoperability, and operational resilience as the cornerstone of your digital transformation initiatives will go a long way to preparing for the future. Decentralized security is built with the owner of the data at the helm, ensuring the controls and the evidence are controlled by the data at all times, or by the data owner at all times, which is essential. Now, boosted by a fast-growing community of DApp software engineers, intelligent oracles, some consensus models, smart contracts are getting smarter every day. And organizations can now build interconnected off-chain data sharing capabilities via interoperable smart contracts and protocols that have been specifically designed to provide robust, secure, and scalable solutions across all layers of the DeFi architecture. This includes industrial scale solutions for a stable and resilient open finance ecosystem as regulatory frameworks fall into place. Of course, the harmonized architecture is dependent on understanding what the regulatory requirements are, what standards need to be in place, of course, the policy frameworks, as well as the governments and operating models that need to be discussed and put into place as well. But those provide the core foundational principles on which to build on. So just in quick summary, Open Finance, the first architectural guideline we touched on was using permission blockchains to optimize cybersecurity management and regulatory compliance. The second one here is experimenting with trustless blockchain bridges as an incentive for software engineers to build DeFi apps that support the goals of Open Finance, while also creating new revenue streams for all stakeholders. The third item touches on crypto and CBDC readiness, because they essentially provide a roadmap for blockchain automation and API integration. So let's look at what the roadmap looks like for open banking versus what we're seeing with Open Finance. Now, of course, there is a lot to build on when it comes to adoption of Open Finance. And if you look at the timeline from 2013 up to 2019, when the mandate was put in force, there was a lot of changes that took place, but they got there in the end. That timeline may not be repeated when it comes to Open Finance because of the post-COVID world we live in, but also other challenges to do with the shift to digital and the doing away with use of physical cash. So with the consultations and research into Open Finance accelerating post-COVID, we can expect we're going to start to see the results certainly in a lesser time year. Now, that's not to say that there aren't challenges, and of course, due diligence is called for. But I'd just like to close I want to close with this because I think it's important to bearing in mind that with the policy directives and regulatory frameworks for CBDCs and cryptocurrencies under development in most jurisdictions, it's very difficult to forecast, how soon Open Finance will go mainstream. But we do know that the research and consultations are gathering pace. And recent history has certainly taught us that the organizations that face these challenges head on and are willing to challenge conventional wisdom by focusing on business agility strategies, forward-thinking secure architecture frameworks, and disruptive data-driven technologies are the ones that are best positioned to gain a competitive edge and adapt to rapidly evolving customer trends. So those are very important attributes that we should all take into account when designing laying the groundwork for Open Finance. So that marks the end of my talk. I do thank you again for taking part, and I hope there was something to take away. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm Yael Tamar, co-CEO and co-founder of Solidblock, and I'm really happy to talk to you guys today about the transformation of illiquid products like real estate into tradable products that are easy to buy and sell. So without further ado, let's start this conversation by talking about centralized finance. What is centralized finance? What is CeFi? This is what we have today, what we're using every day. We're using banks, we're using PayPal, we're using Venmo. These companies are helping us transfer assets from one place to the other. When I'm sending my mother $100, it goes in between a bunch of banks, right? My bank and her bank, and those in the between, because she's overseas, it takes about 10 to 14 days to do the transaction. I can do the same with PayPal instantaneously, but again, you're going to use a centralized company that will take some fees, right, as a part of the transaction. Now, decentralized finance is more similar to, let's say, a Bitcoin transaction. When I send my mother Bitcoin, you know, there's a bunch of computers in between that will facilitate that transaction, right? But my wallet is of my liking, of my choosing, and so is my mother's, right? So individual is a sole custodian of the assets. You can also use a professional custodian like a bank, which is, by the way, where I think banks' roles are going to be in the future. You can, you'll frequently see open source protocols, open source platforms where developers from all over the world are cooperating, right? Coming together to create and develop platforms. So you see this in decentralized exchanges, right? You can see traditional assets in this DeFi, the open finance space, which I also frequently call Finance 2.0. You see also newly tokenized assets there, right? So products like Aspen Coin, which represents stake in the revenues of a Aspen St. Regis hotel. And then together with this new decentralized finance, you get transparency of issuance, loans, easy collateralizing products, and so on, right? So to review the difference between the traditional system, where there are a lot of institutions coming in between, and this computerized system of decentralized finance, of transacting between two individuals. So let's go through some examples of decentralized finance. Now, number one is open lending protocols, MakerDAO. MakerDAO is a decentralized DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which brings individuals together to govern and create rules upon which this organization functions. Now, this organization also issues DAI. DAI is a stable coin that is pegged to US dollar, meaning that it follows the value of US dollar, and it's backed by cryptocurrencies at the moment. So, you know, compare the US dollar, which is backed by IOUs from the US government, and, you know, cryptocurrencies, which are actual assets that you can liquidate and get, you know, even get US dollars if you like, right? So now MakerDAO is actually expanding its collateral pool and wants to add real assets such as real estate. Another example that I already mentioned is decentralized exchange, such as Uniswap, which is really, really interesting because these exchanges don't use traditional liquidity providers, don't use institutions that have a lot of certain assets that they can then, you know, tap into when these assets are selling or you know, are selling out really fast. Now, consider what happened with Robinhood, you know, during the whole GameStop situation, where they had to tap into a lot of liquidity. They needed money really fast, right? When everybody was selling certain stocks, right? So, and they had to borrow a lot of money, and there's not enough for them to borrow, so they just had to close down the whole exchange. So the way decentralized exchanges work is they engage the so-called liquidity pools. They bring a lot of users together to pool their assets, and when the demand increases for those assets, then they tap into the liquidity pool. It's a very, very smart system. All the users that are participating are getting a piece of the transaction fee, right? So one good example is actually Realty, a real estate company that is trading their assets on Uniswap. I already mentioned stablecoins such as DAI or Tether, that are basically collateralized. You know, DAI is collateralized by crypto, Tether is collateralized by US dollars, in fact, right? So what I'm here to talk to you guys about is how we're getting from this centralized to decentralized finance, right? So that's what's really interesting for me as a finance individual, and also, you know, as a curious consumer. How do we get there? So I believe that the way to get there is by putting real assets, right, on the digital world. But how do you take a project in real estate, let's say a tower, you know, or a hotel, how do you put that in the digital space? Well, that's why we have tokenization, right? So tokenization is technically asset digitization coupled with securitization. That's what it is. So first, you take a building, you take a project, and you securitize it. Meaning you divide it into shares that you can sell to investors, right? So it's a very traditional mechanism. Usually do this to a company that owns a real estate asset, right? That's the first step. You securitize it. And then you digitize it, meaning that we issue these securities on the blockchain. We write the owner's information on the blockchain, meaning, you know, not private information, but the proof of purchase for that asset is written on a blockchain, meaning that it's secure, it's immutable, is there. That's number one. Number two, because it's written on a blockchain, we now can trade these securities easily, right? We trade them, you trade them with the same ease as you trade crypto securities, crypto assets, right? Crypto assets. Now, where do we trade these digital securities? We trade them on over the counter, meaning that you can actually, if you know the seller, if you know the seller knows the buyer, they can both go on the Solidblock platform and they can trade these securities. One can sell to the other. And on top of that, these securities are then registered or listed on specialized exchanges. These specialized exchanges are really alternative trading systems, ATSs, with a special license to trade digital securities. So that's where these securities are traded. Now consider the real estate market, which is $300 trillion worth. It's huge. Yet only 1% of that is liquid, right? So we have a huge opportunity of putting all these assets, right, making them into financial products that people can easily benefit from, right? So the biggest chunk of money in real estate is not in single family homes, right? These are all the big money producing properties, right? So tokenization is a very, very important phenomenon that was basically born out of two things. Number one, the Jobs Act, which is the U.S. legislation that came out in 2012 that was meant to help small businesses. So the government said, well, if small businesses can go and get liquidity in the secondary market, by letting investors trade their securities, that's going to help them. So that's what they allowed. Now, with blockchain coming into the market at the same time, and these two things combined, you get this law on steroids. You now can actually execute this, right? Investors can start trading their securities without them going public, right? Going public is a very, very expensive process. So blockchain actually kind of catalyzed this whole process of tokenization, right? So COVID last year proved that anything we knew about real estate can really be put under a question mark, right? Asset ownership has changed. How we have more, assets that we own virtually or digitally. You even may own a virtual home and a virtual platform. All these things are changing so much and all the time, right? And on top of that, offices look completely different. People work from home. Hospitality changed as well. So all of that is just created a fertile ground for tokenization, right? For bringing the assets into the digital world, right? So in a nutshell, tokenization makes investment accessible. It enables smaller tickets, simplifies transactions, and creates a secondary market, as well as new business models. So the advantages of tokenization include helping asset or fund owners to raise capital more efficiently, as well as giving investors unprecedented access to private real estate investments, as well as increasing transparency and liquidity, right? So to review, the process of tokenization is called a security token offering, right? We have the initial offering, where we're offering these securities to investors. We create all kinds of appropriate regulation and compliance to do that. And then the secondary offering, where we list this security on an ATS, right? So imagine the world in which, instead of investing in a real estate asset at the beginning and then being able to exit 5-7 years, you can actually exit anywhere along those lines, right? You create a new market where real estate assets are traded, right? And you create an opportunity for investors to exit at a profit and go out and buy new assets, right? And those that need to sell and have to sell may exit at a loss, but that also might be beneficial for them, right? Because they may need liquidity. So one of the good examples for this, of course, was the Aspen Coin project, the tokenization of the Aspen St. Regis ski resort, a world famous resort that raised $18 million on using a Solidblock tech solution, and issuing 18 million tokens, which is it's now listed on T0 platform and trading at a 20-30% premium, right? So basically, we're using tokenization as a base. But now let's imagine this new financial order, right? Which digital real estate will enable all kinds of new products, new financial products, right? So of which tokenization is acting as a base. So number one, of course, we're able to issue and trade financial products, right? But think about all kinds of derivatives, index funds, benchmarks, what we have in the traditional world can be supported through digital real estate. Think about the fact that we can trade these securities on many different exchanges at the same time, and also are able to collateralize these investments to issue loans to customers, right? And finally, we're able to connect to DEXs, to MakerDAOs, all of those things, the DeFi funding sources, pool people's capital together, and then we'll be able to create even more liquidity in the market, right? So these are all the solutions that are spanning tokenization. So my main point to you guys today is that we're able to create a new finance once traditional assets, which have the majority of assets today, will become digital, right? So I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. You can reach me on anywhere on social media, Yael Tamar, on my email, and check out our blog, check out our Tokenization 101 course, which should be available to answer all of your questions about tokenization. And with this new Finance 2.0 phenomenon, I'd love to hear from any financial analysts or just basically any professionals that are thinking about new products to launch and cooperate with you guys, as well as solve all kinds of challenges together. Thank you very much.